Hi everybody. Today we're going to have a quick introduction to the subjunctive and some of the main uses of the subjunctive. So let's start by reviewing what we know so far about the subjunctive. We know that the subjunctive is not a tense, just one more tense. We actually know that there are multiple tenses in the subjunctive, right? We can have a present subjunctive, an imperfect subjunctive. The subjunctive is a new mode of conjugating verbs, though for now we're dealing with the present subjunctive. We also know that the subjunctive usually carries some kind of subjective meaning, right? It can be a feeling, an emotion, but we know that the meaning is not enough to trigger the subjunctive in Spanish or in other languages that carry the subjunctive. I hope that by now you're getting to realize that the subjunctive is a lot about the grammar. Before we even consider whether we can use or need to use a subjunctive in Spanish, we need to look at the sentence structure. We need to look at the sentence and see, is there anything in here that would trigger the subjunctive? I know this sounds complicated at first, but actually, once we understand and learn how to identify the structures that trigger the subjunctive, it's going to become actually pretty easy, because once you see these structures, you will know for sure that the subjunctive follows. So for now, we're dealing with what we call noun sentences or noun clauses, which require their own type of rules as far as the subjunctive goes. I know that some of you probably are not too interested in the grammar and in having to know what's a noun clause, but trust me, it will help us identify these sentences. So this type of sentences that we're dealing with today, whether you want to call them noun sentences or not, they all have in common that they have that little que at the beginning, right? They're introduced by a que. So when you see a que, you can suspect, oh, maybe I may need to have the subjunctive, but it's still not automatic. You don't always have a subjunctive the moment you see that que. So when do I use the subjunctive? Once I see this complex structure with more than one sentence and a que in the middle and a change of subject, if everything else is in place, what is the final straw? What is the final thing that makes me decide, oh yes, I need a subjunctive here? Well, it's easier than it looks. I know it doesn't seem easy right now, but let's take a look. It's not as bad as we may think. One of the easier things we can do is to look at the verb that introduces sentence. And if we look at the verb in front of your que, so if you look right here in front of the que, there are three types of verbs really that will trigger the subjunctive, and a fourth type that will be different. But the main three groups that I'm showing you here always trigger the subjunctive. So once we learn how to identify them, it's actually fairly easy. Let's look at number one. Number one is verbs that have to do with influence, desire, preference, or command. What does that mean? It means that if I'm trying to influence you or I'm trying to influence another person, I'm telling you what to do. I'm asking you what to do. I'm ordering you what to do. I want you to do something. You see, I'm trying to influence your behavior. So what am I talking about here? I'm not talking about a fact. If I say something like, te pido que me escuches, it's not a fact that you're listening to me already, right? It's not a given. But I would like you to listen to me. So I'm asking you that you listen to me. That in Spanish requires the subjunctive because it's my wish, it's my hope. I'm hoping to influence your behavior. But it's not a given, it's not a fact that I will get what I want. So every time you see any of these verbs that have this connotation of to tell somebody to do something, to ask somebody to do something, to order somebody to do something, to wish that somebody would do something, we're trying to influence another person, we're going to have the subjunctive. But remember, the subjunctive is not used in the verb itself. Te pido is an indicative. Te pido, I ask you, is the verb that will trigger the subjunctive, but not in itself. Where is the subjunctive? After the que, in the second sentence. Que me escuches, that you listen to me. That you listen to me is not a fact yet. It's what I'm hoping to achieve. This one is the subjunctive. This verb is the one that will be conjugated in the subjunctive, because that's what I'm hoping to achieve. Does that make sense? So group number 1 is all verbs of influence, desire, preference, or command. There are more, but you don't have to memorize them all. If you understand the concept, I'm trying to get you to do something, that's going to require the subjunctive in Spanish. ¿Fácil? Okay, número 2, grupo 2. What is number 2? Verbs of permission, approval, or advice. If I advise you to do something, if I prohibit you or ban you from doing something, if I suggest that you may do something, if I recommend that you may do something, if I allow you or give you permission to do something. All these verbs trigger the subjunctive. Again, not in themselves. Te aconsejo, I advise you. That's an indicative. Where is the subjunctive? Well, the subjunctive comes in my second sentence after the que. I'm advising you to go to the doctor, or I advise that you go to the doctor, that you should go to the doctor, that you may go to the doctor. That's the subjunctive. That's the thing I'm recommending or approving or advising. But it's not a fact. It's not a given that it will happen. So that's the extra meaning or nuance that the subjunctive is adding to the sentence. Does that make sense? Group number 3 is all verbs of emotion, feeling, or hope. So if I'm happy that something is happening, if I'm surprised that something happened, if I would like for something to happen, if I hope that something happens, if I'm afraid or scared that something may happen, if I'm sorry that something happened, the important thing I'm telling you is not just that something happened or will happen. I'm telling you my feeling, my emotion, or my hope about the thing that may happen or may have happened. That requires the subjunctive in Spanish. So again, the subjunctive is not in the verb itself. Me alegro, I'm happy that. That's still in the indicative, even though that's the verb that carries the emotion. The subjunctive is going to come in the second sentence after the que. I am happy that you're coming. The important thing is not the fact that you are coming or may be coming, but my feeling about it. So my feeling about this statement is tinting the whole statement into the subjunctive. It's making my second sentence a subjective feeling about what may or may not happen. Does that make sense? But again, all that feeling in itself would not do anything without the whole sentence, with the whole complex structure. I still need 2 sentences, change of subject, and a que in between. If I just say, estoy muy feliz, I'm very happy, it's a strong emotion, but if the other conditions are not in place, I would not have the subjunctive. I still need the 2 sentences, the 2 different subjects, and the que in between. Once all those elements are in place, yes, the verb of happiness, the verb of emotion, triggers the subjunctive, not in itself, in the second part of the sentence. Espero que vengas. I'm hoping that you will come. My hope that you will come makes it a subjunctive. But what is in the subjunctive? Not the hope. Espero is in the indicative. The fact that you may come. That's the thing I'm hoping will happen. That is the part of the sentence that goes, the verb that goes in the subjunctive. Me sorprende que vengas. I'm really surprised that you're going to come. It's the surprise is the feeling that is going to trigger the subjunctive, but not in the main verb. The main sentence is always an indicative. The subjunctive comes after the que. It's triggered by the verbs in green, but the subjunctive itself is the second part, the orange part, the second verb of the sentence. Is that making sense? Okay. So group number 4, I'm going to make a pause here, because every time you see doubt of lack of certainty, that's going to trigger a subjunctive. So again, that's as easy to recognize as the previous verbs. If you have feeling, emotion, influence, suggestion, recommendation, always triggers the subjunctive. You identify one of those verbs, you see the que, there you go. We need a subjunctive. Same thing here. If I doubt that something may happen, if I deny that something could happen, if I do not believe that something could happen, if I'm not certain, if I don't think that's going to happen, all those things will trigger the subjunctive. Dudo que sea cierto. I doubt that that could be true or that may be true. The doubt is in the main sentence. It's in the indicative itself, but it's triggering the subjunctive. Where? After the que sea cierto. Because I don't think it's true. I doubt it. I'm doubting this statement, so it's going to come in the subjunctive. No creo que sea cierto. I don't believe that it could be true. The fact that I don't believe it is triggering the subjunctive. Where? In my second sentence, after the que. Because I don't think it's true. It may or may not be true, but I, who I'm the speaker, I don't think it's true, so my doubt is tinting the whole clause, the whole second sentence, and it will be in the subjunctive. But here I'm having an ojo, watch out. One thing to keep in mind is that if you have certainty, if you're sure about something, even though you may not be right, I mean, I may be sure that today is Monday and I could be wrong, but if I am sure of it, if I really believe that today is Monday, I am the speaker. I'm going to consider that a clear statement, a factual statement, and I'm going to use the indicative. Creo que es cierto. Creo que es lunes. So if I believe that is true, whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. I believe it, I'm going to have it. I'm going to choose the indicative. Whereas did you see here, no creo que sea cierto? I don't believe it. Subjunctive after the que. Creo que es cierto. I do think it's true. Indicative after the que. Does that make sense? So only number 4, the verbs in number 4, we have to stop and think for a second. We have to make sure that there is doubt or lack of certainty. Because if there is not, if we're certain or sure, then we will use the indicative. But in all the other cases, it's pretty straightforward. We see any of these verbs in sentence number 1, we know that the subjunctive is going to be triggered in sentence number 2. Does that make sense? So once we're familiar with these verbs, it becomes pretty easy to identify that subjunctive. We see the trigger, we see the que, we add the subjunctive. Does that make sense? Okay, just one quick add-on. Let's not forget that besides verbs, we also have impersonal expressions that require the subjunctive. And there are many of them. Actually, most impersonal expressions require the subjunctive independently of their meaning. So if you have any expression that describes or qualifies a fact, es agradable, no es agradable, es bueno, no es bueno. It doesn't matter what you're saying. If you're saying that it's good or it's not good, it's nice or it's not nice, it's natural or it's not natural, that something may happen. It doesn't really matter so much what your opinion about the fact is. It's just the fact that you're giving an opinion about a fact. That triggers the subjunctive. Es agradable que haga buen tiempo. And if you thought that it's not nice or we have good weather, that would still be the subjunctive. No es agradable que haga buen tiempo. Es sorprendente que haga buen tiempo. It's surprising that we have good weather in January. Oh, no, no es sorprendente que haga buen tiempo. No, it's not surprising. This is California. So the opinion that you're given is not that important as the fact that, hey, you're qualifying the fact. You're not just telling me that we have good weather, you're telling me your opinion about the good weather that we're having. It's nice, it's surprising, it's not surprising, etc. So all those impersonal expressions require the subjunctive, always, all the time, no matter what they mean. If they imply possibility, es probable, es posible, no es probable, no es posible, it's likely, it's not likely. That also requires the subjunctive, always, all the time. Es probable que haga buen tiempo mañana. It's likely that we may have good weather tomorrow. It's likely. It may happen or may not happen, but it's likely. Possibility always requires the subjunctive. Doubt or lack of certainty also requires the subjunctive, of course. No es verdad, no es cierto, no es evidente, no es seguro que vaya a hacer buen tiempo mañana. It's not certain that we will have good weather tomorrow. It's not true that he does not want to help us. No es cierto que no quiera ayudarnos. So again, if you take a quick look at this, almost all impersonal expressions require the subjunctive. Once you see that, es probable que, no es probable que, es verdad que, no es verdad que, no es cierto que, es agradable que, es bueno que. Almost always you can be just like automatically sure that you're going to require the subjunctive. So every time you see one of these impersonal expressions, it's a big alarm. You should watch out. It's like, hey, most likely I will need to use the subjunctive. But of course, every time we learn a rule, we need to learn the exception. So, ojo, watch out. There will be one exception to all these impersonal expressions that require the subjunctive. And again, it will have to do with certainty. If you are certain that something is true, es verdad, it's obvious, it's clear or evident, it's certain, you may or may not be right, but you're the speaker. You choose the indicative because for you, it's obvious, it's true, it's self-evident that something may happen. Es verdad que hace buen tiempo. It's true that today we have nice weather. Whether it's true or not, if I truly believe it, I'm going to choose the indicative. Es evidente que quiere ayudarnos. If it's evident for me that he's trying to help us, whether that's true or not, I do believe it. So I'm the speaker, I'm going to choose the indicative. Es evidente que quiere ayudarnos. Okay, this is a long explanation, I know. But I think if you come back to it, it will be making sense a little bit more every time that you revisit it. And the good news is that this is the overview of, let's say, 90% of the cases when we're going to use the subjunctive. There are other little things we'll have to worry about. We're going to have to look at time sentences and adverbial sentences. But most of the time we use the subjunctive in Spanish is in one of these contexts. So if we really understand how to use these noun clauses or these little sentences that come after que and they come after either a verb or an impersonal expression, we really will get a much better understanding of the subjunctive. And once you learn how to identify them, it becomes easier little by little. So let's give it a try. Vamos a practicar.